Welcome to 908 ENT, the podcast. I'm your host, Sal Joe. We're here to help you take another step towards success. Now let's get ready to learn the basics from the best. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning back into another episode. This week, our guest is Joe Lusardi. Joe, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. So Joe is a football player at the University of Rutgers. He has had a great career there so far, from starting out as a walk-on to being named a team captain this past season. He also has made the academic All Big Ten list for the past 3 years. But this is all public info. Anybody can Google you or Google the team. What would you really like our listeners to know about you?
So first off, thank you for having me on this podcast. But I grew up in Summit, New Jersey. Just moved to the Far Hills. Went to Summit High School. Was a 3-sport athlete there. Had a great time there. Then obviously made it to Rutgers. Wasn't the easiest path there, but made it here. And now majoring in communications with a minor in sport management. Like you said, named team captain this past season. But just really enjoying my time here, making really great relationships with both players and coaches, and definitely excited for what's to come.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just to start off the show, I always like to ask everybody, what are the 3 simplest things that lead to success?
Yeah, so for me, I would say my 3 are hard work, competition, and the moment. So when I'm talking about success, I like to think about the peace of mind you get when you know that you've done everything you can to be the best you could be. I feel like that goes a lot with hard work. I mean, I feel like you can't really teach hard work. It's something that some people have. A lot of people don't have that trait in them. And at the end of the day, it's a decision. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, you wake up and it's a decision that, I'm going to work hard today, or no, I'm just not going to give everything I have. And then next, I have competition. So obviously, as an athlete, I mean, this is for both athletes and employers. But competition, I mean, the goal is to get better, and the only way to improve is to go up against the best. As a football squad, we talk about the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret.
Mm-hmm.
The pain of discipline is something that kind of hurts like at the moment, while the pain of regret is something that hurts for a lifetime. And I feel like a lot of people, if they don't decide to compete, they get that pain of regret where they're like, damn, like I should have went up against this guy, or should have kind of upped the effort a little bit more. It's definitely something to keep in mind. And then finally, the moment, definitely a very important trait for me, being able to focus on the exact moment, the task at hand, instead of really worrying about what happened in the past or what's about to happen in the future. I feel like those are the 3 that kind of come to mind for success for me.
Yeah, definitely. And what do they say? Competition breeds success, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So can you share a moment or experience that inspired you to kind of just pursue football? You said that you played 3 sports, but just kind of go all in with football?
Yeah, I mean, obviously growing up, my dad, he played college football, had a very similar path as me, going there as a walk-on at Syracuse. And honestly, just growing up, I've always wanted to be kind of like him and kind of follow his path. And then also just growing up in Summit, kind of seeing a lot of successful players and coaches like your dad, Coach Liberato, kind of go through the Summit football program. I remember, like, as a kid, always wanted to kind of be in those shoes someday and kind of reach the goal that those guys were hitting. So those are definitely 2 that I keep in mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then can you share a lesson that you've learned from that helped you get to where you are today, whether that was kind of like figuring out being a walk-on and stuff like that, or, maybe something that you learned from your dad?
Yeah. So I would say treating every moment like it's your last. Um, Kind of bringing everything you got into every moment. I mean, at the end of the day, you never really know when something will get in the way of you doing what you love.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why I bring that kind of same energy, excitement into everything I do now. Just thinking about that, especially as a football player. I mean, injury can happen at any moment, so
Mm-hmm.
um, that's just something that I kind of keep by my side, and that's kind of what keeps me going.
Yeah, it's definitely easier said than done, though, right?
Oh yeah,
Especially when you're
100%. Yeah.
playing, though, too. You're like, oh, this is like it could be over in a second, but I'm gonna give it my all. But I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their head around as a
Yeah,
player
no,
or just
100%.
in business or whatever. But
Hmm. Yeah,
that's
no
couldn't be
doubt.
more true.
Yeah.
So, you have any favorite quote, mottos, mantras? I know you guys got something at Rutgers, but you personally?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's something that I kind of learned going to Rutgers. Um, it's like it's a little motto about being a party crasher.
Okay.
We talk about how crashers are people who are not supposed to be there. They're kind of that like outlier, and they're kind of someone that needs to step outside their comfort zone to kind of put themselves out there and to let people know who you are and what you're fully capable of. It's definitely something that I have definitely experienced, especially going to the college level of kind of getting myself out there and not really worrying about what people think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just really doing anything in your power to get to your goal that you set. So
Yeah. And then going from, like you said, a walk on to being a team captain, that's definitely being a party crasher because that's usually not
yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah, definitely was needed when that voting was going on.
Yeah. So moving on to everybody's favorite question. You touched on it at the beginning, hard work, but does hard work beat talent or does talent beat hard work?
Yeah, I would say hard work definitely beats talent. Um, Sometimes I feel like the people who work harder are the people that are more trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the people with the most talent kind of create this maybe like a selfish environment for the group as a whole. And yeah, like what I said earlier, I mean like hard work is a decision, and I feel like those who don't really have that trait of being a hard worker, I mean, they haven't really gone through a lot. They haven't really experienced any tough times. And I feel like you need that in the workforce or in sports. You need that kind of that grind. So
Yeah, definitely. And there's like a saying to it, like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But I just left the end
yeah,
off just to see what people thought or to give it like an open ended answer.
gotcha.
Yeah. So you did touch on it going through tough times. What is the best way to overcome an obstacle or setback? Whether
For
that's in
me,
sports, life, anything. I mean, sports obviously you're always going to face an obstacle no matter how good you are. You're, number one in the nation or you're the worst team in the nation.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, Kind of like what I said earlier. First, I would definitely take like a 360 look at the situation, and then definitely just focus on what's in front of you. I mean, whatever happened in the past is it's in the past. Like you can't really do anything about it. And then trying to guess what's about to happen in the future. I mean, that's not going to do much for you. So being able to have an elite level of focus on the moment itself and um, focusing on that task, I feel like that will help you get out of your situation. And at the end of the day, I feel like no one is perfect. I mean, everyone will experience a setback sometime in their lives.
Hmm.
It's only like the strong-minded people are the people that will get out of it and eventually reach the success that they're trying to reach.
Yeah. And that segues perfectly into the next question. So what's more important, passion or motivation?
Yeah, I would say passion is more important. Um, I feel like if you're passionate, there's not really a need for motivation.
Hmm.
I feel like motivation is sometimes inconsistent as your motivation may change day to day. I mean, I know for me, like definitely, it definitely changes whatever the circumstance may be.
Hmm.
But I feel like passion is more of a mindset while motivation is more of a feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just like your example with football, like you've been passionate about football your whole life, but your motivation, I'm sure, has changed, whether that was in high school or just being a freshman on Rutgers and now being a captain. I feel like your motivation
Exactly.
definitely changed.
Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So then how do you continue to stay like updated and just like learn like what's going on like with like your football skill? Because I know there's a lot of like classroom end to it. Everybody thinks it's just working out, but like how do you continue to learn the game and get better that way?
Yeah, so obviously the coaches are there and they definitely spread a ton of wisdom to the
Hmm.
players. I know like a lot of things that I've heard I'm going to be using for the rest of my life. And they also bring in like these speakers to kind of talk to the team and kind of give some good tips to use both in sports and later in life. And that also helps a ton, especially going through any hardships, whether it's in school or just like outside in regular life. So, but also, I would say community events. I know this past year I participated in the Special Olympics and this like YMCA play for special needs kids,
Oh, that's
and it
awesome.
definitely is like it's definitely like eye opening to see these kids, and it really makes you think of how fortunate you really are. And those are just like things that I'm gonna be looking at and realizing later in life, just to kind of keep me going.
Yeah, 100%. And then like for anybody listening that's just like curious about football, like you touched on, you said you had speakers come in and the coaches talk about stuff like at like the D1 level, like how important is it to have like non-football knowledge and non-football stuff like that as opposed to just like, the workouts and like, all right, this is football.
Oh yeah, I mean the coaches are there to get you to wherever you want to go. I mean, football is not something that you're gonna have for the rest of your life. It's gonna end eventually. And I
Hmm.
feel like that's something that athletes need to realize is that there is life after your sport, that there's going to be a time where your sport ends and you got to be able to figure it out and kind of move on in life and find something else to kind of get you going, honestly. It's
Yeah,
hard, but because it's something that you've been doing your entire life. But um, yeah, it's eventually going to end, and eventually you're going to have to figure it out a little bit.
yeah, definitely. And then any type of advice or what would you say to somebody that's listening to this right now that might be in your shoes as like a walk-on going to, some type of school or in a similar situation? Like what helped you through that?
Yeah, I would say just to never let someone put a limit on you. Um, I feel like you are fully capable of doing whatever you put your mind to. I mean, I've definitely been doubted before, but
Hmm.
I knew who I was and I knew what I needed to do to get in the position that I needed to be in. And I wasn't gonna let anybody tell me otherwise. I was fully committed to where I wanted to go and the goals that I wanted to reach. And I remember when I was in high school, I think I was at like a college camp, and this like random
Hmm.
coach came up to me and told me to never let someone put a two on you. And I was like, what what does that mean? And he's like, never let someone tell you you're too this, you're too that, you're too small, you're too slow, too dumb, whatever it is. You kind of have to focus on yourself. You can't really listen to the outside noise. You gotta really just believe in who you are and what you need to reach.
That's awesome. I like that. That's a good saying. So then what's something that you're grateful for that's contributed to your success to kind of get to where you're at now?
Yeah, definitely my family. They've definitely been by my side through the good and the bad. They never really left my side. Uh, when I was little, my mom passed, and I remember my dad and my sister. They had to make a ton of sacrifices, and definitely grateful for them. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be in this at this university if it weren't for my family. And then next, the coaches, both in high school and college. I remember when in high school I was dropped by the University of Massachusetts last second. And I remember Coach Costabos and Coach Liberato both were making phone calls 24/7, trying to find a school for me, trying to find me a new home. And definitely grateful for them. Definitely wouldn't be at Rutgers without them. And then definitely the college coaches. They definitely made me a better man, a better player, and definitely taught me a lot of lessons that I will use for the rest of my life. So definitely grateful for both of those coaches.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then, as we come to a close here, what's one final piece of advice you would give our listeners to help them take another step towards success?
Yeah, honestly, like what I said earlier, outside noise, you can't listen to it.
Hmm.
You can't fall into that trap. You have to really just lock in on yourself and what you have in front of you. You um can't listen to any of the doubters. I mean, that's something that I've experienced and I will continue to experience. So
Yeah, definitely. So, everybody, thank you for listening. If you want to connect, feel free to reach out. And then, Joe, what's the best way if somebody wants to connect with you?
you can hit me up on any social media. My Instagram is Joe Lusardi, and my email is jlusardi03@gmail.com.
Yeah, and then I'll be sure to put everything in the show notes so anybody can get the
Yep.
links.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.